Peace. My name is Brother Chris. Formerly, still Moon Productions and Eye Opener Productions. I'm here today to bring you a video of two brothers who I hold in high esteem. 20 plus years ago, I did a video along with Blue Pill, Brother Shabazz, Brother Black Dot, called One Up on the Frequency, featuring Dr. Phil Valentine in my house. We interviewed him, this is probably what, 06, 07, somewhere around there?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. So 20 years ago. And I asked Blue Pill back then to interview him because people don't understand, beyond the the metaphysics and the occult stuff and the conscious community, first and foremost, he's a journalist. And I met Blue being a journalist. He's a writer. He was writing for a hip-hop newspaper called Four Corners in Brooklyn back then. And he was a highly esteemed writer, not to use that word again, but he was one of the best hip writers in Black Dot. So, still is. So I asked him to do the interview with Phil Valentine. We did One Up on the Frequency, part 1 and part 2. 20 years later, I'm asking, Spirit told me to get another production of that, similar in that format, but to have Brother Oba, whom I hold in high regards, because not only is he my god brother, but he's also a Oriate. He has many hats in the African spiritual community, the Lukumi and the Palo community. So there have been many misconceptions on social media, on YouTube, and just in the community overall about what people do with Orisha, what people say, and they have it all wrong. So setting the record straight is what I'm calling this today, in the spirit of One Up on the Frequency. So Brother Oba, he's going to explain who he is, and we're going to start this interview. But I just wanted to give the preface for this interview, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
Chicha, brother. Chicha.
Peace to you and yours, Brother Blue, reporting live and direct to you. We are here for another installment of a very historical series, okay? One Up on a Frequency. This is the 20-year anniversary of a legendary series that we started, right? And today's presentation, today's episode, right, is titled Setting the Record Straight. And none other than my brother, than your brother, this brother sitting beside me, is qualified to set the record straight. We introduce to you Brother Oba. Peace, brother.
What's going on? How you doing?
All is well. We are here for another historic taping, right, of a historic series, and we are dealing with a historic topic. Okay, spirituality in the melanated community by way of consciousness, right? Some people might hear that and think that they know the backdrop. Some people might think that they know the history. I thought that I knew the history, only to be informed that I only knew fragments of it. And my wholehearted, not belief, but understanding is that it's very hard for somebody to defend what they don't understand the totality of, right? So rather than hyper-focalizing on the many infractions that we have seen, across, whether it be the internet or in the physical realms and the worlds or what have you, I rather would spend time dealing with foundation. I rather would deal with, the things that people may not know or may have overlooked in order to establish why something should be respected or revered, right? So in the spirit of repairing, in the spirit of reestablishing a reintroduction, if you will, I want you to start by introducing yourself, and then I want you to, tell the people exactly what is Ifa/Orisha.
Okay.
Indeed.
Well, my name is Oba Off. I am a third generation practitioner of Lukumi traditions that were propagated first in Cuba.
Yes.
My family has been involved in these traditions since 1968.
Okay. It's quite some time.
Yes, in 1968, my uncle attended uh, a new Black African conference in Philadelphia, and it was a brother by the name of Umar Ahmad, and they were putting together this event, a Black Power event,
Mm-hmm.
and Surgeon Ade Fumi, Walter King, did a lecture, and he said that Vodun was the true religion of the Black man.
Mm.
And my uncle, who at the time might have been 19, he heard this and he said it was most profound. He had never heard anything like this.
Deep.
And so he went and did his research, and to big up the great scholar Sheikh Anta Diop,
Yes.
right? He read was Civilization or Barbarism,
Mm-hmm.
and then he began to become entrenched in that, so that he started to study about the Africans of West Africa, and he noticed that they were very close to what he would experience when he went to South Carolina every summer.
Mm. Okay.
So one day he said he had to get change for the train. This is in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And he went into a bookstore and he saw a man dressed in all white. His name was Adeo C. He was a priest of Obatala. He was a hunchback, a legitimate hunchback.
Mm.
And my uncle went into the store and walked up to him. He says, "I want to do what you do." He said to my uncle, "What's that?" He said, "Wear beads in white." And so RDOC took my uncle on Palm Sunday of 1970, and he took two of my uncles, and he gave them a reading. And they received their first preliminary initiations, which was their beads, their lekes. They came home that day, and my grandmother was in the kitchen. And this is from my grandmother's account. She said she was chopping onions, and she felt something, and she turned around, and she almost passed out. And my uncles were standing there in all white with their beads. And my uncle said, "Mama, we Africans now." 2 weeks later, my grandmother had beads, right? So God bless my grandmother, because she was a very humble person for someone to follow their children looking for God.
And prior to this, her spiritual discipline may have been.
Well, she was born Catholic.
Okay.
She was born Catholic in Baton Rouge. Well, she was born in Ohio, but she grew up in Baton Rouge and in the third ward of Houston. At the time, I think they called it a bucket of blood. So my grandmother followed her children to these traditions. So in 1979, my grandmother made Obatala by the hands of Lloyd Weaver, Olosumi. He's an Oni Yemonja, priest of Yemonja, who is, for all intents and purposes, is the benevolent father of Nollywood. So in the 1980s, Lloyd Weaver moved out to Nigeria, to Lagos, because he worked for CBS at the time, and they wouldn't let a black man advance. And so some friends of his told him to come out to Nigeria, and he went out to Nigeria, and they created the blueprint for television in Nigeria, right? So they had the corporation called the Serengeti Productions. He was very involved in Nigerian politics. He had raised two children there for 35 years. But this is my mother's godfather, who started one of the most prolific African-American houses of Orisha in the United States, Ile Ashe. Him and his wife, who's passed away, they both passed away now, but his wife, Stephanie Weaver, who made Obatala. We're talking about people who made Orisha in the early 1970s, right? When the only options for religion for a black man were Muhammad or Jesus. Okay. I've had even older elders. I have an elder who I have a picture on the wall. Her name was Beatrice Adderley. She made Orisha in Puerto Rico in 1965. You have to think about Malcolm was still alive. Martin was still alive, right? And this woman was following African traditions and aesthetics, right? In 1965, in order to wear all white, she used to have to go to the nurses' uniforms and wear nurses' uniforms.
So what would be the earliest observance or evidence of African traditional systems being practiced over here in a consecrated house? Organized religion, or organized traditions.
Historically, the first African Americans to be initiated into Lukumi traditions happened in 1959.
Mm.
1959, Osurgimen Adefumi, Cristobal Oleana, and then several months later, Edward James and a woman by the name of Marie. I haven't gotten her last name. These people were the propagators of all of this. They were the first ones that brought these traditions to the United States. Word is from Cuba.
Okay.
So the word is that. So
and by way of Cuba, by way of.
Okay, so let's start from the very beginning.
Yes.
All of this start with Zora Neale Hurston.
Yes. Let's get to that.
So Zora Neale Hurston went to university as a mature woman. She procured a grant to interview the last bit of slaves, living slaves in the Delta.
Yes.
This was all propagated or sponsored by her reading this book called Folklore and Superstitions of the Southern Negro.
Yes.
From that book, she procured a grant to go and do this ethnographic work and get these people to tell these stories.
Yes. Yes.
At the same time, Catherine Dunham, a dancer, procured a grant to go to Haiti to do diasporic traditions. Zora and her went on that trip together.
Mm-hmm.
From that, we have Catherine's dance class, which produced Osurgimen Adefumi. Now, Osurgimen Adefumi met Cristobal Oleana because Cristobal Oleana was half Cuban and his mother, or one of his parents, was from Curacao.
Curacao, right.
Okay. He used to dance rumba, and rumba is a particular folk dance that they do in Cuba, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they used to have competitions in the early, let's say the early 40s, because there was a wave of Cubans that moved to the United States, to New York particularly, which would be Washington Heights. Before there was Dominicans there was Cubans there.
Right.
So Cristobal used to dance rumba, and he won a contest and a trip to Havana to compete in Havana. When he went to Havana afterwards, after competing, some of the people were like, "Yo, come with us to this party." But he didn't know it was a religious party.
Mm-hmm.
So he went to his first drumming, and when he got to the drumming, they told him, "You'll be back." So he comes back to the United States. So the word is that at the time, when Catherine Dunham came back, she came back with Vodun traditions first.
Mm-hmm.
And Osurgimen started the House of Dambala.
Dambala.
Yes.
Right. So
they were trying to get into the Haitian thing, but the Haitians were very quiet-lipped. So they said this is a folk tale, and they was telling me by my elders. They said that there was a day that they had the Hogan and they had the Santero, and they gave both of them a rooster, and they told the one that can make the rooster sit still is the one that they was going to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And they said the Santero said something to the rooster, and the rooster laid down, and the Hogan couldn't get the rooster. It was running around. They was chasing it, and they said, "Well, we're going off to Cuba." So by way of Cristobal Oleana, he had told Surgeon, "Listen, there's these Cubans that's doing this African thing over there." So when they went in 1959, was right before the revolution had popped off.
Mm-hmm.
They brought these traditions back, and then the Cubans began to flee. Because there were Cubans here, and they weren't really practicing because it was very secretive at that time. Because even in Cuba, they went through a lot of oppression and suppression with the traditions. So when the Cubans came to the United States, they were very secret. In contrast to Osurgimen, who was on the television show Killing the Goat on 125th Street, right? Because the first Yoruba temple used to be on 125th.
Mm.
So the Cubans had a problem with him because they thought
125th and what?
I want to say what's the next block after Park? What's that, Madison?
Madison.
Yeah. They used to have a temple there. So they went to Cuba, they brought the traditions back, and then the Cubans began to be more open with them and starting to give them the traditions. Okay? So like I said, so this all goes back to Zora Neale Hurston, right? Mm-hmm. So if you go back and you read the Oswald and God, she talks about her initiation into Congo traditions when they put an incision of a lightning bolt on her back for Insasi, right? The lightning god. She talks about how she was taught by one of Marie Laveau's descendants, who said that Marie Laveau was taught by High John the Conqueror. Okay. So like, do people hear me on on some of my social media? I'm very abrasive. So I say stupid shit like hoodoo is doodoo, and it's not that I'm trying to break down that tradition, but in the 1950s, Zora Neale Hurston said that hoodoo was dying because there were no more two-headed doctors. And the two-headed doctor was the head of the ceremony in hoodoo, and that's who performed the animal sacrifice.
Right.
So by the 1950s, the two-headed doctors were gone. Whatever remnants of hoodoo people are practicing today is novelty, right? Because again, you have to put in 40,000 hours.
Right. So in comparison, like an Ifa, you would have to have a hand of Ifa in order to be consecrated to do certain ceremonies.
No. So Ifa.
No, I'm just saying. I'm trying to use a comparison.
Yeah. You have to have some sort of initiation.
Right. For there to be a two-headed doctor, you would have to be initiated and consecrated to be able to perform
these rituals.
Ritual.
Exactly.
And that has not been passed on.
No, not since the 1950s. In the 1950s, there's actual literal conversation or literal reports where Zora Neale Hurston talked about the fact that when her informants informed her that there were no more two-headed doctors. And this was in the 1950s, right? Because what people have to go back and understand historically is that during the Reconstruction era, the white boy was afraid because the slaves have all of the skills. So he started to create these trade unions, right? Or these craft unions. So in order for the black man to get in, he had to have paperwork. He had to have a birth certificate. Most slaves had no birth certificate. So the only other...
So that was their barrier to entry.
Yeah, but the only other representation that they can do, which is still viable today, is your baptism papers. You could go to any church in America today without a piece of paper, without a picture, and say your name is John somebody, and they will baptize you, and that you could take that paper and take it to the DMV, and they will acknowledge it as a real document.
Wow.
So what happened was the slaves, they couldn't practice their tradition because they would blackball you. So you don't come to church, you don't get a job. I hear you still healing women with them chicken foots and all that. We're gonna starve you, right? And this is what they did to the Native Americans. The Native Americans, they starved them. They killed off all of their game, and there was nothing there for them to eat. Yes. So you got to come deal with Uncle Sam now, right?
Yeah, they did that with the bison.
Okay, so they did that to Africans in the early days so that they began to give up their traditions because there was no way to feed your children.
Right. Yeah, I want to zero in on that just to show that they've been weaponizing food since day one. They always weaponize access to food. You know what I'm saying? So please continue, because we see it today.
So in regard to that, these traditions, we don't believe in communism, but we believe in Susuism, right? So when you come to one of these, to my tradition, if it's my anniversary, I cook food, I got fruits, and people come, right? And there's a basket with a donation in it. Now, it is custom to fold it up, kiss it, make the sign of the cross, you put it in there. You put $1.05 in there, nobody asks how much you put in there. You hungry? Get another plate of food. When you finish, I got some fruit for you, even some sweets. And one of these people in here may be spiritual enough to figure out what you're going through and give you a solution, or you are networking with somebody and somebody in here got a job for you. But nobody's turned away because everybody pays the same. So if I put a $20 in there, it's the same as he who put $1 in, right? So now, effectively, if in this neighborhood, everybody was made on a different day, I don't got to cook today. I could go to your house and eat. And then tomorrow, this person's house and this person's house, and that's Susu economics.
Right.
Because the community is feeding each other. So when we have these traditions, food is the staple of everything. You bring some priests to your house and they do some work, there better be some food for them. Because you have to break bread. Now, breaking bread is not explained. Breaking bread says, I have a loaf of bread, I give you a part, and you can take as much as you like. Sliced bread is only sliced in the prison and in the military. So we have a saying that the bread don't get cut with a knife because it didn't do anything. So the concept of breaking bread says that I give you as much as you can handle and take. Right? That's the reciprocity in that. We breaking bread. Now it's just not about that. It says that I allow you to eat as much as you like. Right? There is no limit. Only in the military and in the jail do they cut the bread. You only get this much. Right? And so you talk to dudes that have been in prison, they tell you if you get too big, they'll put you on the bread, they'll take you off and put you on the bread diet, right? So breaking bread, this tradition is made for communalism.
Yes.
Right? So that everybody, so when we're doing these initiations, so there's a conversation about, I see people online now leaving the tradition, right? Because they got on and jumped on the bandwagon. They said, oh, well, this tradition is always, it's negotiable. It's always some type of transactional, right? Well, guess what? The Yoruba believe that the world is transactional. The world is a giant market as far as they're concerned. And in the market, people are stealing, lying, pickpocketing. Some people are honest, some people are not. But this is all happening in the market. I can relate. Right? So we have a saying that you pay to keep death away. Right? So yes, it's transactional because that is the concept of the West African. So this is why if you go into a West African market and you let them sell anything to you, they don't respect you because you don't have no haggle in you. Because it's about the market. Nah, how much? I ain't paying that. I'm going next door. No, come back, brother. Right? If they don't respect you, if you go in that market and they say $7 and you pay $7, he goes whistle. We got one.
Your mark.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because you ain't fighting for nothing.
You ain't haggling.
You ain't haggling.
Yeah.
You understand? So transaction.
Bargaining at the market.
Exactly. Like, so now when you get initiated, somebody brings
because it says something about your psychology. For the most part.
You're lazy.
You're lazy, right? There's all of these vendors that are selling the same thing. See who has the best price. Make relations, right? Your needs and wants open doors for you, right? So, yeah, why would you go with the first thing? Whereas someone could say, well, you know, I'm strategic with my time, and if I saw what I want and qualified, then I'm going to pay. You're more like a Westerner, and they'll treat you.
Well, it's so okay. As human beings, before as hunter gatherers, if you was not up to par, we leave you, we keep it moving because you're not up to par. So, as human beings, as we civilize and we change those ways, we bring it to the market.
Right.
So you can't fight for yourself, and you ain't worth nothing. You just a waste because you in the way. Because it's like the circulatory system or any system. It got to have movement. If it's stagnant, it don't work. So when you come and get initiated, you come and somebody tell you this costs you $10,000. They give me the $10,000, right? First person I take the $10,000 to is the seamstress. Somebody gotta make your clothes. Then I gotta take it to the cook because somebody gonna cook for a certain amount of days for you. Right? Then I got to take it to the master of ceremonies. Then I got to take it to the priest who will come and spend their time on a Saturday to come and do this ceremony. I got to give it to the person whose house we're going to rent. Right? I got to give money to the person at the animal place. I got to give money to the herb guy. It's industry. I take that money and it goes to the community. And the community puts back into you. So this ceremony that they have with you sitting on this throne was a psychological ops that the Africans created because they said the king sold us here. So we don't got no allegiance in nothing. But every weekend, we're going to pick one or two of the Africans and we're going to put them on the throne and they're going to be the king and queen for the day. Right? So that you see that same culture in the baby shower. She's sitting in the chair. Everybody put money on her. Because she's bringing a new life into the thing.
Nigerian.
Okay.
Dollars on
exactly. These are our African ways that we never lost.
Right.
You understand? Yes. So these traditions are meant to be communal. Right? So what we're doing today is just the groundwork. It's like the beginning of the seed. Right? Because the people are online, they think they're telling us secrets and they think they're this and that, and they're self-professing themselves. And all that will end at some point when we get to cutting the fat. And then we'll get to the people where there's be communities because this thing don't work unless you live in communities. So it works in Cuba because they all live on the same block.
Right.
Come outside. Hey, Godson, come here. Let me help. Come and do something.
So this is a tradition for community building because you can't nation build without community. You explain it so expertly in terms of what's a family qualifies as a clan, what is clan qualified as
to a
tribe,
tribe,
what is tribe
qualifies
qualified
to a
as a
nation,
nation, what is nation qualified,
right?
right? So this is for communal living. This is not for the individual, but for the
No,
individual looking to build around
no,
family
no.
and
This
community.
is family. So it teaches you first. It's a rites of passage because we've been stripped of that. What rites of passage does is it gives the community ability to evaluate you,
Mm-hmm.
so that I don't put too much burden on you because you're not built like that. You understand? We used to do these things so that when we get to even in our society today, you have people involved in things that they're not built for, right? So in this evaluation, I see what you made up. Okay, so now I know where to put you at on the board. Okay, so now this rites of passage that you're going through, it allows you to psychologically feel like magistry for a moment. Because for those 7 days, you are the king. They're gonna feed you, they're gonna bathe you, right? Whatever you like to eat, it's all of that because you have to have that psychological
Mm-hmm.
operation in your head. And so the reason that they dress the people like the in those gaudy clothes is to imitate the
Peasantry.
overseer.
Okay.
So the guy on the horse in the colonial Spain times, he got these big puffy, you know what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
shoulders. So they did that so that you would see yourself in elegance and you would believe yourself to be a king or a queen, and hence not allow anyone to violate that your majesty, right? So it was a psychological upliftment,
Mm-hmm.
and it requires the community because the community is there to necessarily decide whether or not you're good at whatever it is that you do. You understand? So you come into the tradition, you could be a cook, you could be a master of ceremonies, you could be a godparent, you could be a drummer, you could be a singer, you could be somebody that gets possessed. There's all these different positions for you to find. And so the tradition finds it, the divination is there for your godparents to help you figure out which one of these things that you're going to be good at as a craft that participates in the whole. You understand? There it
Yes.
is.
Wow. How does one orientate such a system that's built around community, and community is built around, for the most part, sharing and caring, open door policies,
Mm-hmm.
loving and trusting, right? With a fractured community such as the one that we belong to, with a community that's so, backstabbing and backbiting and, all of the things that we may know exist in the communities that we call home, or these hoods that are not necessarily neighborhoods or home, right? How does one go about finding qualified participants, you know what I'm saying, in a sea of all of this confusion? Is this a tradition that calls you to it, or is this something that people did a search and find along the way?
It's both. So you have some people who find this because of health issues.
Mm-hmm.
They've gone to the doctor, they're finding some, they're willing to try anything, right? Um, you have some people that find by way of cultural avenues, right?
Right.
But it's important. So what it does, so first thing we have to go back is to ancestral veneration.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't have the ills of in our community if our soldiers are equipped with intuition, clairvoyance, and these different things, right? That is what is lost. The grandmothers and that's not just them, even the grandfathers, right? That intuition to pick up on negative energy. Nah, he don't look so good. No, you can't go with him today, right? You need to be able to have that to avoid tragedy. That comes by way of ancestral veneration. So unfortunately, if we go to the projects today and you ask Daquan, who's your great grandmother? He'd be like, Nana. He ain't got no name for her. You ask him, where your people from? Brownsville. Nah, son, they didn't come from Brownsville. They came from someplace else. That connection, that memory. So we were talking earlier about memory.
Yes.
Memory is the thing that connects the spiritual world to the physical world, just like a computer.
Mm-hmm.
If you forget about somebody, then they don't exist.
That part.
Right? So I give you an example. My cousin, I went to school, he went to Wacy Shule with me, right? And there was a guy that was in his class that had graduated before I came along. But I knew him, but I just didn't know him like my cousin knew him because my cousin is older. So I'm asking him, I'm like, "Oh, you remember bro?" He's like, "Who are you talking about?" He's like, "I don't even know who you're talking about." And I couldn't get his name. So I sent one of my spirits who happened to have a connection because he went to the school with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Yo, Juicy, find his name." And one morning I woke up and he whispered in my ear, "Ronald." The first thing I did was call my cousin. I'm talking about early in the morning, the crack.
Mm-hmm.
All I said to my cousin was Ronald. He said, "Oh shit, you just opened my whole brain up. I forgot about that kid." "Oh shit, son, you just opened up a whole part of my brain. I forgot about this guy."
Right.
Because his life was significant because he played a part in your life. You interacted with him.
Mm-hmm.
And with him is a bunch of memories,
Mm-hmm.
which connected you to him. So the memory has to.
So you open the door and that door shines light.
Absolutely. It lifts him up like the movie Coco where he can't get nothing because nobody remembers him.
Right. You gotta, and African traditions, they say the reverence of the name, the mentioning of, they said that they have two separate abodes for ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
One with names that are forgotten, that you're not spoken of, you don't exist. And then they have the one where names are spoken of,
So now,
come to the forefront.
with those names, so Yorubas are good with that because they named their children Babatunde. He came back. Right? So they're going to keep that name going. We've lost that. So like part of us in our zealousness in being African and being Black power, we got rid of our names of our ancestors. The Gertrudes, the Essies, the Animes. Those names mean something. They have a lineage to them and a memory to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that one of my cousins, so my uncle is Jonathan Michael Robinson II. My grandfather is Jonathan Michael Robinson I. My cousin is Jonathan Michael Robinson III, right? But his brother is named Ellison, and Ellison was Jonathan Michael I's father.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So my uncle named his son his grandfather so that that name would continue,
Mm-hmm.
so that he's not forgotten. Right? So now we're talking about memory. Memory is the same thing with the computer. The computer don't run without memory. So this goes into why we perform rituals, because those dead people, they have a memory. So when they see us perform a certain ritual, they remember that ritual. It reminds them, I remember that. So when we have certain rituals and what we perform in the ritual is an indication to that which is observing us that something needs to change, that we're looking for a change in environment.
Right.
Feel me? So, and that's all memory.
So it's petition through repetition.
Absolutely. So memory, so like I said, if you believe in Jesus Christ, if you believe in Honorable Muhammad, right? Peace be upon him.
Right.
If you believe in Abraham, if you believe they lived and died, they're all ancestors.
So that's all ancestral worship.
It's all ancestral worship. If you believe in astrology, them stars is dead. That's ancestral worship. Ain't nothing else to talk about. So don't tell me, oh, I don't worship my ancestors. Yes, you do. You look at them stars, whatever it is that you paying attention, that shit been here before you. You asking that shit, what I'm supposed to do. So it'd be like, don't tell me about, because a lot of these things, so the same thing with religious regalia.
Right.
You was born naked. God ain't send no wardrobe bag with you. When you talking about I gotta wear this for God to recognize me, that's not possible. Because if he wanted you to have those clothes, he'd have sent you with him.
Right.
Like Superman. Superman came with his clothes, right?
With to play the I can't even use that word in this conversation. But what about tribal markings and things of that nature, scarifications, things that you earn along your journey and your passes that they say become indicators and markers to, an observant creator that's saying, okay, I know my children by their markings per se.
Nah, that shit is for us.
Okay.
Those markings are for me to figure out whether or not you have the qualifications to come in this room or not for God. God don't need that. God sees straight through you. So there's no regalia that you require to walk into any holy place. Just make sure that your feet is clean. Don't be walking up in God's house with no dirty feet. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Because you were born naked. God didn't send no clothes with you. Clothes is a man-made, this is a part of etiquette. Right? So when we talk about morality and different things,
Right.
your morality is controlled by your mortality.
Mm.
So if I live in a tribe and it's a small group of people, it's 60 of us,
Mm-hmm.
and the young girl begins to menstruate, that means that she's ready for copulation. Let's play ball because I need more people for the mortality of my group. So when you look at the 10 commandments, right, they're all about mortality. So thou shalt not kill. Well, that's less people for the tribe. For if the flood comes and we need people to put the sandbags, there's less people. Don't do that. Thou shalt not steal. Well, if you steal from him, he gonna find you. He gonna want to get into some gangster business, and then somebody gonna die. You sleep with his wife. He gonna want some drama, which is gonna lead to violence. So that we have a saying in Odu. It says, arguments turn to fights, and fights turn into tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So these moralities are based on you not killing nobody, which is advantageous or disadvantageous to the group. Outside of that, because God don't care about none of that. God is indifferent to it. Because there's as many cells that are born and die inside you, you would know. We're from the same way God don't care. Because God is the receptacle of all things. Right? So that people have to really start to really investigate the idea of omnipresence and omnipotence. God is indifferent to all of this. That's not what we're not here to deal with that. We're here to deal with the cycles, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the cycles. And I don't want to use karma because that's a different religion.
Right.
So we're talking about cycles. What come around will go around. So if you do something, so if you decide to be anything, if you decide to be a tyrant, you have to make up the decision that somebody's gonna creep in and pop you in the back of your head one day. That is a real reality, and you have to accept that.
Mm-hmm.
So that if I say that you got a choice, right? I say, Blue, I got water, I got milk, I got juice, I got soda, I got beer, I got alcohol. What's your choice? There ain't no wrong choice. It's up to you whether or not you decide how you approach them. Right? So if you say, I want the beer, you drink the beer, and then it wasn't good for you, well, that's it. You got it all. Right? So the smart man, let me taste the water. Let me taste the milk. You're going to taste all of them. Right? But the smartest man is the man that comes to see me and get a divination to tell him which one is the best for him. Mm. Because your choice is your choice. There's no wrong in it. Right? So the water, I could drink the water. It's good for me, but does it have any taste to it? Not really. The milk, it tastes good, but I'm going to suffer from it later. My stomach going to get the bubbling, and I'm going to be more thirsty. The juice, it tastes great, but it's going to make me more thirsty. The soda, it's popping. I put it in my mouth. It got all the bubbles, and it's all great, but I'm going to be more thirsty afterwards. The beer, yeah, I'm going to have a good time. It's going to be fun until I start to fall down on myself, right? And the alcohol, the same thing. I'm going to have a great time. But the effects afterwards, I'm going to have to deal with. You understand? So it's you decide to pick a life of criminality, it's a short road. It's going to be a lot of lights. It's going to be dancing girls walking down the street. Everything will be violence, but it's a short street. You ain't going to be on that shit long. And if you decide on that, that's good for you. You can go out like that. You want to be on a t-shirt? Knock yourself out. But own it. Don't get in there and then you was in the ER and they didn't kill you. You like, oh, mama, help me. No, you chose that. So you got to go with it. And that's with everything. So if whatever it is that you put yourself in, you have that choice. But it's be smart to go and get an assessment to see which one is best for you. And that's what divination adds for us.
Mm-hmm.
So that, because they say destiny, but they're using these words that don't really apply to these things. Because destiny refers to something being set in stone. What Ifa does is give you possibilities. I can move this 0 over here and put a 1 there and put this 0 over here for you. But one day you're going to come and I ain't going to be able to move nothing because it's all fixed already. And you're going to have to deal with the circumstances that you're dealing with. You understand?
Right. So there's fixed things, and then there's things that are mutable based on,
Certainly.
decisions that one
The
makes.
universe
or
is not
choices.
uniform. It's not uniform. It is a collage of possibilities. Because in our tradition, we have Eshu. And Eshu is not the devil.
Mm-hmm.
It is just that which can happen. We've learned to pay or feed him and keep him busy while we're doing what we're trying to do, so that he don't thwart what we're doing. You understand? So it's understanding that you're not going to get rid of the bully. Pay him. Give him something. Get him out of here. Right? If you want to, oh no, ain't nothing. They're going to shake you upside down and take it anyway. So give it to him and get him out of here. So this is, again, transactional. I pay to keep death away. Right? When black people understand that and stop with this, oh, I'm going to be a poor righteous teacher. No, sir. You got to get to hustling, because the universe is about movement. So if you're not moving, you dead, right? So we have this thing about, we cover our heads when we pass the cemetery because of the hawk or the vulture, right? They say if you sitting still, the vulture come down and get you. But if you're moving, the vulture ain't going to bother you. So you better keep moving. Don't be sitting around, oh, the vulture gonna come get you because you sitting still and then thinks, oh, you dead, huh? So you gotta keep moving. You understand? And so we perform these things as an allegory, but also as a memory. So that I'm saying to myself, so there was a guy, Ibaraytinu brother, his name was Naba. He was from the Dogon. He was okay.
Naba, Master Naba.
Okay, right. Naba said, when I speak my language, you don't understand it. It ain't for you. It's for your DNA, so that when you have children and it gets into their DNA, when I speak it, they will understand me. You feel me? So you have to think beyond. So, and that's the thing. We think for now. Our competitors, the pilgrim, he thinks 100 years ahead.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks 500 years ahead, because we're not thinking like that, because we don't understand the dynamics of our life cycle. That you come back.
Mm-hmm.
You come back, so they say, you plant a seed to a tree that you will never be under the shade of.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't gonna stop you from planting it.
Mm-mm.
So you plant it so that when you come back in the future, shade of there. You pay it forward. And so these traditions, so this is why when you see all of these people, right? Because, not for nothing, you're welcome, right? Because before I showed up, they weren't talking about spirituality. They weren't talking about spirituality. They were trying to sell everybody Ifa and Palo Mayombe and all that. I was like, nah, a glass of water and a candle gonna save your life.
Now, so I need you, because, we opened up this conversation and I asked you to establish the difference between the two. And now you're saying that there's something that you introduced is totally different from that. So for clarity purposes, can you explain what each is and where their origins are from and what their differences are?
So we're going to set the record straight.
Yes.
So when the slaves, in Africa, because we've said, we've established that ancestral veneration is foundation, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So we established that. So the African that is taken away from his home,
mm-hmm.
his children don't know his great-grandfather. They don't know the bloodline. Now, that mixed with sexual assault by way of the pilgrims, mm-hmm. right? And then other means of miscegenation, right? Mm-hmm. You cut this African today, he don't bleed just African. He bleed a whole bunch of stuff. But he still has to venerate his ancestors, whether they're white, whether they're native, whether they're Hindu, whether they're Chinese. He still got to venerate them. But they don't do this. They don't worship Orisha. So water is the universal conduit for all spirit. I'll give you a glass of water and a candle. So now I'm dealing with the 4 elements. Water, fire, the flowers or incense is earth, and my voice and my prayers are the air. So I create this construct for my spirits to understand that these are the conduits that they need to communicate with me through. I'm giving them a lesson. So now they say the water, because in your sleep, when you dream, you still swallow.
Mm.
Okay?
That's a fact. Right.
So the glass of water, I create this construct, and then I begin to lift up ancestors and put their pictures up and venerate them and say their names, right? So that through the work that I've done, I met a cousin who's far removed from me in family, that he went and did the research for me and found one of the slaves that was on a plantation in my family by the name of Balthazar Ubaye. So now, let's talk about quantum physics now. I get a picture of some slave of my family and I pray for him. I go back in his time and he's deciding to run, and now the light, that star is shining for him to get out of there. What I do today not only just affects the future, it affects the past.
Quantum physics.
So I gave those people because see, so now let's get into, so now why is it the Caribbean and the continental United States, why are they different? Because in the Caribbean, when slavery ended, they had a day of jubilee.
Yes.
It's called carnival.
Yes.
So you stomp on the graves of your ancestors.
Yes.
They know that their suffering was not in vain.
Mm.
In the continental United States, Juneteenth, there was motherfuckers still in slavery in the 1960s. Because there was nobody to tell them. So there was no day of jubilee to alert the people who've been buried, who were whipped and all that they didn't do that shit for nothing.
You mean even like the foundational one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that this was the problem, that when the Cubans first came in, they started dealing with black Americans and they would have these seances. Black people would get possessed with these spirits that would tear the crib up because there's no resignation, there's no resolution with them. They're like, what? It's still, nah. So nobody explained to them.
So they are channeling disembodied spirits that may very well still be earthbound. They have not been released
at all.
So
they've been suffering.
Right. So,
because who's saying their names?
Right. Can this be the underpinning or the undergirding energy behind nigger culture?
Absolutely. So that we don't have, so like,
is that being conjured and opened up like a Pandora's box via the food and the music then?
Certainly, so that the music becomes murderous, it becomes revengeful.
Right, it's very vengeful.
Right? It's about, I have this angst about me because I'm possessed. Because you got these spirits who don't remember who they are.
Disembodied.
Right? Nobody is saying the name. Like I said, so we go to the projects right now and we find Daquan, and I'm like, Daquan, who's your grandmother's name? What's her name? You're going to be like, Nana.
Right.
No, what's her real name? He don't know. Where's she from? Brownsville. No, she's not from Brownsville. She's from North Carolina. She's from Virginia. She's from Oklahoma. No, that's where you come from. So now you're not acknowledging that memory. So she's like, ain't nobody praying for me. They having Thanksgiving. They all sitting outside smoking reefer. Ain't nobody sitting at the table. They ain't praying for none of us. When you start to acknowledge them, they've come up and now they're around and now they can whisper in the children's ear, no, don't pick that gun up. Don't, your mama's on drugs. Leave that alone. Right? So that you have to understand that, so that this neglect is what creates this almost like this metaphorical mold. Okay?
Yes.
So in the migration, so now we're talking about the migration from the south to the north, right? We were talking about that earlier. So that started because back in the days, black people had bought up all this land.
Right.
But then the white boys said you gotta pay property taxes.
Yes.
So now they gotta pay property taxes, but they done closed the mill down. And they ain't trying to let us work because they know we ain't got no car, no horse and buggy to get to the next town where the work is at. So I'm gonna send you up north. You go to New York, Chicago, Boston, Philadelphia, Detroit. Go get that job in one of them factories and send that money home so we could pay these property taxes. And so the angst between the South and the North becomes because the people who got left feel some type of way.
Right.
Because when you come back after you pay the property taxes, you get to sit at the big people table.
You're the man. Right. You get all the favors.
Lester is upset. He been chopping wood and all that. He feels some type of way. Oh, you damn city slicker. So now you create more dissension between Northerners and the Southerners. You understand? So that you got people that have lost land, air property, because people died and nobody said nothing. Right now, my family found out there's a white man getting some type of rent from one of my grandfather's houses on his property. They just decided ain't nobody. They put a trailer there, starts collecting rent, and then whoa. Why? Because nobody in the South said, yo, listen, come up here, come down here, because they're trying to take y'all land. Because they feel some type of way. You think we living it up in the city. You don't know there's rats and all type of craziness up there. You understand?
Right.
So this is creating the dissension. So now the family don't go down south. So now those names are not said. You don't go to those graves, and they get forgotten. And then it will be, and that's really what the pilgrim is trying to do, is trying to erase us. That's why he's trying to take the shit out the books. He's trying to make this thing never happen. And if you can, you'll eat yourself, and so then I ain't got to worry about it. So in 100 years, there won't be none of you niggas around. You'll be like the dodo bird. You heard of the dodo bird? You understand? So this is why memory and ancestral worship. So this is what I brought to the table 10, 15 years ago.
So with that being said, do you think this resurgence of people going through the quest to find their identity, right, which some have termed the culture wars because it's spilling out of control, diasporically, do you see a dichotomy with how African traditional systems may have said, this comes from Africa, what y'all doing in Cuba ain't real, that ain't right, you know what I'm saying? It lacks the originality. Did the diaspora or the culture war start there first, and then this is just the latest iteration of it, where it's now more focalized and more regionalized, where people is like, well, we from this landmass and y'all not, so get up out of here, X, Y, and Z. But them still looking to find themselves, ultimately is them looking to find their ancestors. What they choose to do with them is their business. But do you see that there's a resurgence of people looking for their ancestors and their identity?
I wouldn't say that I say there's more of a grab to create an identity. It's more of a cosplay.
But again, how?
So here's the thing. So now the Nigerians and the Cubans, the beef is, so on the Nigerian side, they figured out that Black Americans have money.
Yes.
And they figured out it's a way to hustle. So if I get on WhatsApp and I tell you, I did a reading for you, then I get some money. The Cubans on their side, you have a generation of them that don't really care for the religion, but it's just a way to get off the island. So if I go into this class and I dance like Shango, and then they take me on this tour and then I dance Shango, and then I'm a defect, and then I'm gonna be in the United States. Did I really care about Shango? Not really. It was just a means for me to get over there, right? So my point is spiritualism. See, because spiritualism don't get you you can't tell me about your nationality, because spiritualism allows for all ethnic information and advice to come at the table. So like if you look over there, I got a Native American shrine, right? It's for my Native Americans, right? So I don't got to speak their language or perform their rituals. It's just the memory that they exist. You understand? So me having that there allows me to honor them and keep their memory alive, right? So I don't gotta come from Nigeria, because my Ocha don't know what Nigeria is going through, because it has been born here. It's gone through the circumstances. So this is for the people out there. The difference between what they call Isheshe, right? Because that's the title that's been given. It never had that title. Of traditional African Orisha traditions.
Isheshe.
Call it Isheshe. Which etymologically says, the word Sheshe in Yoruba means work. Shishe. Right?
Club Sheshe? Right.
So, when you put the I in front of it, the E vowel gives it the ethereal value.
Right.
So in Yoruba, they say Ijuba, Ibaye, right? Anytime they put the E in front of it, it makes it somewhat holy. So it's holy work,
Now,
Right.
this is a marketing scheme. Nigeria is filled with Muslims and Christians.
Yes. 50-50 is.
The Yoruba people are sparsely sprinkled around. So what happened was, Ifa has a written evidence. They write this shit down.
Mm-hmm.
So
And this would be the Odu?
yeah, but Odu is beyond just Ifa, because the word Ifa is an action, it's a verb.
Mm-hmm.
It means to scrape. Right? Holy scraping. Again, the E. Ifa. Fa means to scrape. Okay. So Ifa is the perfection of divination. It's not the eldest. It's not the antique. It's not antiquitable past cowrie shells. The cowrie shell system was born first. Ifa is the perfection of it. This is why we know it's not antiquitable, because the perfect thing don't start out first. You get to that over trial and error.
Right.
Okay? So the Babalawos normally, so what happened was the Nigerians get sent to Oxford. They get sent to England to go to school because they don't care about history. They care about science, technology, engineering, and math.
STEAM, right.
So they send their kids to Oxford. So when they get to Oxford, they got this African studies class. They start telling them how great their people are. Oh, what? So they go, oh, you fine. So they start to read the books. So now the white boy says, oh, take me to Nigeria and see your people. Now he don't really do this shit, but he know better than you do, right? The same way I'm not from the Bronx, but if you're not from the Bronx, I could take you to the Bronx and take you to Sedgwick, right?
Right. Take you right to Sedgwick, right.
You understand?
Yeah.
So they like, yeah, come on, white boy. So now when they figured out the white boys got money and they'll spend it on it, they start promoting this Ifa thing. So now they got the books and they got the money. So they come to the shrines and the people are poor because they ain't nobody coming to get no readings. Everybody Muslim or fucking Christian. So they ain't getting no money. So they come in and say, listen, you don't say nothing or you won't eat. Okay, we're about to bring some Americans over here. We're going to give them a ceremony. Now, we don't know what they're giving us because their Orisha traditions were never meant to be given to transient people. You're supposed to be in the town. They're supposed to see you what you're doing. So we don't know what they're giving outsiders because they don't have a system, because Lukumi was made because the slaves didn't have any family. So they created a new family. So this is why the Lukumi circumstance is for us. So now we're getting into the Lukumi situation. We have something in our ceremonies, what we call the table. And on the table is a bunch of things that we use. Rum, toasted corn, crushed up bush rat and fish, cotton, honey, molasses, water, all these different things is on this table. And we use these things to season the elixir that the Orishas are born in. Now, the important part to this is that everything that was on that table, somebody got sold for. A human being was exchanged for. And so now me putting these things in the elixir gives them the memory to know that everything that the slaves went through, because you ain't in Africa no more. You here in America and you don't own the land. So you got to help me. And so these things that I take off the table, I put it in there, season it to educate them, to understand that when you read me, you need to understand that I'm driving while black. Because the Nigerian don't know that. He ain't never seen that before. So he can't tell you how to move through the world because he don't have those circumstances, he don't have the cultural education for that.
Right. That's not his reality.
Exactly. So I said to people 15 years ago, stop letting them try to sell you E5 because that's a cultural shock to you. You don't know that. Put grandma on your altar. You know her. She gonna talk to you and she ain't gonna lie to you because she ain't no Orisha. She's straight from your bloodline. This is why I told them a glass of water and a candle, but everybody jumped over that. Oh, I'm gonna get the Palo, I'm gonna get the E5, I'm gonna be a Babalawo. You got 5 years of a Babalawo, you ain't shit. You don't know nothing. Don't ask me nothing, don't tell me nothing.
What you mean by that?
Because Ifa originally was meant for old men. It was meant for old Orisha priests that when they got old, that they would start to study Ifa because there was a wonder in the aha of this religion. So every time I come into contact with something and I learn something, it's an aha moment. So it was made for old men.
But in order to proliferate it, they start selling it to motherfuckers. Yo, now you gotta make some E5. Come over here, because they gotta build their numbers up.
Mm-hmm.
We also can't deny the fact that they have an influence from the three Abrahamic faiths, right? Because ain't none of them Babylao show up in Cuba for 150 years. They ain't show up in Brazil. Why not? So one of my elders, who was an old Orisha priest, and he went to Nigeria to become a Babylao, he said after it was all said and done, Ibaye to New Baba Fakundo said, oh, this is nice. He said, but if Ifa is perfect, how come you ain't see that white boy coming?
Mm-hmm.
And then you never sent the ship to come get us. Been some betrayal going on here.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't show up in Brazil, that it made the women in Brazil not initiate a man for over 200 years. They said, you will never be in power again to do what you did to us. And it's already happening already. As you look, if you go to Brazil and look now, there's no more Mai de Santos or the Tejeras, it's Pai de Santos. The men have taken over. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because they accepted Ifa into it. Because they told them, oh, you need this. They was working perfectly fine. Now they're coming in with it. So the Africans understand that this is something to sell. The new Cuban has figured out this is something to sell. I'm telling black people, no, go get you a glass of water and a candle. Go get somebody in your family's picture and let them guide you the way you're supposed to go. Because, again, they can't do shit with you without ancestral reverence. So, again, this is all, so like the internet, go ahead.
You know, this is gonna spark some conversation. Some Babalaos will say, nigga, who you think your ancestors is? They don't have the power to do X, Y, and Z. You know, this is their first hoorah. They have not built up the ancestral ashe to do anything on your behalf. They don't even know where they're going yet. Right?
Okay.
In exchange for saying, yeah, I wouldn't lean on Orisha before I would call on the ancestor who is newly departed. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the hierarchical pecking order in the heavens
So,
for somebody to?
we have a wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Iku means death.
Yes.
We have a saying that says, Iku se lobi ocha. It says death gave birth to the Orishas. Orisha se lobi Ifa. The Orishas gave birth to divination. Ifa se lobi osan. Divination gave birth to medicine. And too much medicine leads you into death. That's the wheel of life. So death, if it ain't for the ancestors, you don't know the Orishas. So don't tell me that you, because in divination, I could throw Obi to Obatala or any one of these Orishas, and a certain signal could come out and stop that conversation, and I gotta go straight to the Egun. But I could never be talking to Egun and Obatala stop me from talking to them. Okay? Again, if you believe in Jesus, he's an ancestor. If you believe in Taurus or Aries, that star is dead. So you back to the dead. You don't, without the dead, you don't have a concept of God. So again, they can say whatever they want to. And see, this is the thing. I stand to what I say. In a couple of days, I'll be 49. I got 49 years in this tradition. I got 20 years of Shango. Okay? I got 25 plus years as a diviner, because before I had Ocha, I was divining. Right? All these Johnny come latelys, you're not going to tell me about something that take a lifetime to understand. See, because when I started, I don't know God. I know Lofi Olorun Olodumare. My creator didn't make the world in 6 days and rest on the seventh. He continues to expand the universe right now. So we don't got the same creator. You heard?
Mm-hmm.
And so I never knew God. So when these niggas come, you converted to this, you still ain't washed all of the other fucking marker off for the last shit that you went through. I'm telling you, I'm coming through this shit fresh. I think like an old Orisha. I was taught to think like an old Orisha. You understand? So when the rent is, I don't go, oh, I come in here and I go, yo, what's up? You feel what I'm saying? I don't go, I got different customs. because of my upbringing. So when my folks, they be like, "Oh, he's just a hater." Imagine this. Imagine you grew up in a gang situation. Your grandmother was the OG. And then somebody from New York that just got initiated 2 years ago, gonna tell you how the program works. Are you serious? Dead people talk to me at night. Dead people that I know. Right? And so this becomes a thing about whether or not you're in this for money, or are you in this for attention, or are you truly here to help people? Because if you're truly here to help people, you would be too afraid to operate on somebody when you ain't got the experience. You feel me? And so you see these people, and even with the sisters, and there ain't no disrespect, but you not finna tell me how spiritual you are when you got 3 baby daddies there and they all ain't shit. Where was your intuition then?
What if they're working on it?
Yeah, right.
Working on it.
Yeah, that ain't enough. It ain't enough. You got 3 baby daddies, so you didn't figure out that the second one was a piece of shit. You got to the 3rd and had a baby? Nah, son, I'm not fitting to listen to whatever little consultation you got.
Let's take a break.
The spirit world is more real. The spirit world is more real than most of us believe. The spirit world is more real.
To flow without a purpose is unreal to me.